If you are a parent of an athlete, I want you to hear this. You are already your kid's most powerful mental performance coach. It's not me. It's not their strength coach. It's not their varsity coach. It's you. The way you talk in the minivan, at the dinner table, and after games is literally wiring your athlete's brain for either confidence or anxiety. That is a lot of pressure and it's kind of daunting. And that's why I created my free email course called the Resilient Parents Playbook. In it, I walk you through the 5 most common mistakes we make as sports parents, and I give you simple, practical tools to fix them. You'll learn how to praise effort and attitude instead of just results, how to handle the car ride home, and how to help your kid manage nerves and pressure in a healthy way. It's completely free. Just hit the link in the show notes and grab the Resilient Parents Playbook and start becoming the kind of mental coach your athlete actually needs at home.
This is the Mental Metal Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Toman. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission to help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your metal.
Welcome back to the Mental Metal Podcast. I'm going to jump right into it on who my guest is today, partly because I've had a little bit of a cold situation that has hampered my voice. And you know what? I already recorded the episode with my guest today, Chad Cluver, so we're going to be less of me talking here and more just jumping into that. Just if you don't know who Chad Cluver is, let me give you a quick rundown. So Chad has been coaching for over 30 years, basketball in the state of Illinois, 457 wins all time. He's an IBCA Hall of Fame coach. He really did a lot at Maroa Forsyth. He went third place in state there in 2006, and then the next year, 2007, won it all, state championship. Last 2 years of the 2-class system, he won it. Then he went to Watseka. He made one Sweet 16 appearance there, and then now is his first year at Deer Creek Mackinac. He reached the Sweet 16 in his first year and tied the school record at 26 victories, which is more wins than they had the 3 previous years. So Chad he's really good at developing culture and creating winning programs. And he does that as a self-subscribed or self-defined players coach. Very strong emphasis on relationships, team cohesion, just working on together resilience and adversity and regulating emotion and having humility and being vulnerable. Awesome stuff, which makes it a great interview for my show. And I'm going to be completely shameless here in this plug that we will talk about. Chad was recently in one of my seminars, my Ember to Inferno program, in which I help coaches learn how to deal with today's athletes and help them with some of that emotional regulation in the stress of athletics. And I was nervous to have, an IBCA Hall of Fame coach who's won a state championship come into one of my programs, because I'm like, what if he doesn't agree with me? Who am I to argue with him? And it was the exact opposite. And Chad not only agreed with everything we were doing and had examples of how he'd been doing that and how he could use it, but some of the stuff that I taught that he hadn't used, he has started now using it with his programs. So man, what a boost of confidence for me to be like, okay, a guy who does it well, really well, agrees with what I'm doing. So um, that's myself, and that's my shameless plug. It really is. So that Ember to Inferno program, which you'll hear me advertise on this program all the time, I love going into schools and doing that. It is so useful for the coaches, for cultures, and then it filters down to the kids. And man, I love it. So it's just it's a great program, something I really love to do. You'll hear Chad and I talk about that a little bit, but then he's going to talk about some of his background and some of the things that he's done. And if you are a coach, if you are a basketball coach, grab your notepad and start taking notes, because Chad Cluver is class act guy, and if there's anybody to learn from, it's him. So here we go.
Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So, how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Toman, at Mental Metal Coaching.
Okay, here we go. It's the Mental Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Toman, and I'm here with my guest today, Chad Cluver. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, I'm doing well, Matt. Thanks for having me.
I am really excited you're here. Talk to me about, so for those that don't, how long you been coaching now, Coach?
I've been coaching. Well, I've been a varsity coach for 27 years, and I have been just coaching for 36 total.
Okay, so it's something. I'm taking it, when you've been doing it that long, it must be something you wanted to do from early on.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, right away, I knew I wanted to coach and teach. So, yeah, I knew right away.
First gig?
Yeah, first gig was I was an 18-year-old freshman at Eureka College.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity to finish. There's a senior I met that was coaching at St. Pat's Junior High in Washington, Illinois.
No, I know it well. Yep.
Yep. And he didn't want to do it anymore, so I jumped on that. I knew I wanted to coach anyway, so I wanted to try and find anybody to help. I was looking for varsity, coaches to help. But when that job came up, I grabbed that. Went and saw Sister Marianne, did the whole interview when I, halfway through the season, but finished that season. And then I actually coached 3 more years there. So as a sophomore, junior, then senior, then I did my student teaching at Prairie Central with Tom Posey.
Yeah.
Okay. And, IBCA Hall of Famer. I mean, just one of the best coaches ever. And I was going to coach with him. And then they needed a 7th grade basketball coach at Prairie Central. So I was able to work with Tim McGuire, who was an awesome mentor, him and Tom both. That was great. So, yeah, when I was a junior in college, I was coaching all of St. Pat's basketball, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade basketball.
And I'm sure I can't even begin to imagine what you learned about the profession just because you jumping into it. That I know it's small school stuff like that, but to have to be in charge at 18, 19 years old.
Yeah. No, it was a lot. And I was lucky to have really good high school coaches that I would go back in the summer, or I would, email them or whatever and say, hey, what do we got? What are some things, call them. What are some things I could do when I have a team that's not very athletic? We're not, that strong basketball skills. What kind of pattern could I do and teach them? And the fun thing about that, Matt, was when I got to be the last year I was at St. Pat's before I do my student teaching, I just coached 8th grade because I knew I was just go out with those guys.
Yeah.
Our 7th graders won the regional
Yeah.
that year.
Really?
Yes, which is
Okay.
kids that I had as 5th graders and so forth and moved up. So that kind of felt good.
So you're like starting off implementing some flex or something like that to
Yeah,
try to.
exactly.
That's
That was a lot
look
of it.
when you when you ask a coach, I don't know what year was this.
Oh, that would have been 90 through
Okay.
94.
So you ask a coach in the 90s, hey, I got a team with not much talent. The answer, and it can still be today,
Oh yeah,
is flex offense.
run the flex, or at least some version of that.
Some version of, well, you got to stay pretty vanilla.
Yeah. Oh no, it can't be. Teaching them to read screens and stuff wasn't going to happen very much.
No, that's funny because that's what it was. That's what that was. I think it's coming back around. People use flex cuts,
Oh
not
yeah.
not so much as the entire offense. Some do, but I just back in the '90s, man, it was all over the place.
Yeah, and when I was an assistant at Maroa, my first job teaching was at Maroa, and I was a JV freshman assistant coach for 4 years. We ran a lot of flex,
Yeah,
but we started to teach them how to read it. So it ends up being 4 out, 1 in reading defenses if you do it right. It ends up
yeah.
being motion. You had some kind of construct to help the freshmen figure it out, and then work their way up. And you did sets that would read certain things. But yeah,
I can remember playing a lot of it in high school, and it was continuous motion offense. And when you talk about reading it, the coach let a few players,
right,
so
right.
it
Not
became
everybody.
not every yeah. It was like, okay, Matt, you can you can read off of this a little bit, and we'll get, but not everybody had that same leeway, and it's fine. That's kind of
Right,
coaching a little bit as well.
right.
So that was your first head gig was Merle Forsyth.
Yeah. After I was an assistant coach there for 4 years, the head coach went on, and then that's when I started coaching varsity basketball.
Okay, how many years till you win a state championship there then?
Oh boy. So that would have been 99 is when I started. So it would have been 7 years or 8 years when we win. So
Okay,
7 years we got third. So 7 or 8 years being there before we got third and won.
that's good. I mean, enough time to build a program and start a culture, and then also then have a phenomenal class of athletes come through your program, which is
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. And
yeah.
I was hands on, you know what I'm saying? Like I was involved with the junior high. I ran like kind of our rec league. I kind of was in charge of that or kind of ran stuff during the school year to help you with the younger kids. So I definitely could see we had guys coming.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was just okay, how can we just keep implementing the system with what we know is coming and make adjustments as they get here and just start and be able to play.
I can remember that I think my most amazing tidbit from that team was when you lose a player at the quality of Robo Creps going into the super sectional. That's a death knell for just about anybody. And you guys pull out a super sectional win without an all state level player.
Yeah, without 28 points a game.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's when I was like, oh, they're really good.
Yeah, I mean, the fun thing about that is the kids were really they understood their roles and they were really good and our practices sometimes were harder than the games.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys. I mean, I had a guy that started in the super sectional that may not have started or played in a game since the beginning of February or into January, but because of the way we practiced and because of how hard they always went and how they would sometimes simulate the other team in practice or they always did exactly what I asked them. I felt confident that they could, execute what we wanted to do. Now we had to make some adjustments because you just lost
Oh,
to All-Stater, who actually was the runner-up in Mr. Basketball that year.
oh yeah. Yeah.
To
Behind
Derrick Rose.
behind Derrick
Yeah.
Rose, right?
So I
So
mean,
he had
it's not like you're just losing an okay player. You're
no,
losing a
you
really
know,
good
it's funny.
player.
It's what an interesting thing to think about though. Who was your opponent in that game?
St. Joe.
So imagine
it's one of the last things you want going into that as the coach.
Oh,
On one hand, you're like, oh, they're missing their stud, but then you're also like, I don't even know how to prep for this now.
well, yeah. Well, there's no doubt because we definitely did things that they've never seen.
What? Why you had to?
Right. I mean, I can remember, so we played Friday, and then we had practice Saturday, and that's when Robo found out he wasn't feeling good, and then went to the hospital. And on Sunday, we knew he was going to have surgery.
Yeah,
So it's one of those things like the whole team is in the waiting room.
yeah,
So all three coaches, all of us, me and my two assistants went, and you're talking to the kids. I'm saying they're obviously what's going to happen. So we went in and talked to Robo. Of course, he's devastated. We don't know what's
yeah,
going to happen. And we just told him, hey, you can't control this, but you can control after. So just do what you can do what the doctors tell you, and we'll see. Don't don't ever let hope not be there.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that at least hopefully reassured him a little bit. But then the biggest was walking back into the lobby and trying to tell those guys, hey, be ready for practice Monday. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Get
Yeah.
focused. And so then after that, though, all of us coaches walk out, okay, whose house are we going to go
But
figure all this
exactly,
out, right?
exactly. Like it's an all night jam session trying to
It
figure something
was.
out.
It was. And I will tell you this, in all the years I have coached, I don't know if I've ever had a better practice than I did that Monday. You want to talk about guys locked in for their guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't care. We're winning this game to give him a chance.
Okay, so
And it
that's
was
what I want
crazy.
to listen. And we could talk the X's and O's, but this isn't the show for that. But okay. So I really want to get into how you develop that kind of culture that allows that sort of thing to happen, because you don't do that on. That's not a one day thing,
No, there's no doubt.
and that's what amps me up. It's like, how do you create a culture in which guys actually believe in themselves enough and have enough camaraderie to be like, we can, and confidence to pull it off.
Right. No, there's no doubt. So a lot of that, even just going back, once we knew this thing happened with Robo, I was reading at the time one of Coach K's books, Beyond Basketball,
Mm-hmm.
where he takes words and he talks about them. And I just got done with the adversity one.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and read it, and his whole thing was about you got to trust the fact you can't, when adversity hits, it's not that moment, it was all the moments before. And you got to trust as a coach that you prepared him for it.
Yeah.
And I took a deep breath and I went, I think we've prepared him for it. And to look at that, it was all the things that happened before that, right? I like to do this at times where I'm kind of intuitive, where I can get a feel for the team when we need this every once in a while, and kind of sit the guys down in a room and sometimes put them in a group and give them questions to think about and get them talking about what we need to do, but as a group, and get them discussing it, not me leading it, get them to lead it. And then I always turn it into, I'll talk to so-and-so and say, okay, what's your role? Well, first off, you know how hard that is for a 16, 17, 18-year-old in front of everybody to go, my role is this.
Especially if it's not exactly the role that they want.
Exactly. But what I liked about it, and I thought this was going to happen, and it did, is once that player said his role, the other guys chimed in and said, no, you do this, you do this. Like, no, you
building
shoot
them
it for
up, building
Yes.
them up, not
Yes.
not the other way around.
Yes. And it was even more so like there'd be a guy go, well, my role is, I'm a practice guy. I get that. I go in and I be the other team's best post player or whatever and try to get you guys ready. And then the post player that starts turns and looks at him and goes, no, you prepare me every day. The reason we win is because of you. So now you walk out of that room. What do you think that kid's like at practice? Oh, he's ready to do anything for those guys.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I knew I felt like we were going to go. Because you always in a season, I tell the guys all the time, it's always peaks and valleys during the game, but there's peaks and valleys during the season. It's a long season. And you have to kind of, as a coach, manage that and try to feel it. And I feel like I have a good feel for that. And before that, we had time where it seemed like the team wasn't getting along. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, we got to fix that or have a conversation with a couple guys one-on-one or with a couple at a time and get them to just say what it is. Because a lot of times they're getting cognitive dissonance, right, from outside talk. And then
wait, time out. You said sometimes getting it.
They're getting it a lot.
You're being nice.
I know, but and
It's
that's always
no, it's you, but that's doing it disservice because you know it's there. Especially
yes.
it's worse now than it was back in the 90s.
No, I totally agree. And we talk a lot about it,
Hmm.
with the guys about those feelings aren't, they aren't right. Like you're like, man, I'm feeling selfish and I know that's not right. Yeah, but you need to talk to us about it because that's the only way you get through it. You can't, the feelings are still feelings, right? They're not, there's nothing wrong with your feelings. We just got to organize what it is, or where does it come from, or why are you having a trigger that's making you feel like that? Or maybe we just need to, hey, your parents love you and everything, but right, there's us guys right here, we got to trust each other or trust us. So
Well,
so
I think there's
knowing
a
that we did
yeah.
that in practice, I kind of felt like that's why that happened, was those
Well,
guys were ready to do it.
as a professional coach here, I will tell you that there's so much benefit into having an emotion and a feeling and actually getting it out and thinking about it and saying it, because a lot of times what that feeling, when we verbalize it, we go, well, that's not true.
Right.
That's not true. That shouldn't bother me. But if you just let it sit there in the fringes,
Yeah.
it becomes
Right.
an emotional
Yeah,
hindrance. Yeah.
exactly. And then you wonder why you're not playing well.
Well,
I mean, it's pretty easy.
it is because you're uptight, you're worried, it affects everything about your body, it's everything. And just getting it out there and talking about it, and even the things that you think you're thinking, when you say it out loud, you go, well, that's not right.
Right. And
That's
that's where something I think, as a coach, I got to be a good listener.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I got to let them talk through it, even though I may be going, man, gosh darn, they are thinking things that are not right.
Yeah.
But I need them to get through it and then try to help them understand why it was like that, and want them after they walk out of the room to know I've got their back, right? I can help them, but I need them to be a good teammate from here on out and do what they need to do to help us. So,
Yeah, so as you're talking about this and you're using some words like intuitive, and you told me some stuff, you have an instinct for bringing individuals together and stuff. Where where does that instinct and that intuitiveness that you have, what do you think is like what's the superpower behind that? Where's that come from? Because this is, I would love it if a young coach could listen to this and figure out, okay, how do I become more intuitive around my players? How do I allow this to happen? How do I
right.
feed that idea? And then maybe you don't know. I don't.
Well, it's a hard thing to think about. I think some of it, some people have that skill a little bit, and sometimes they don't, right? But I think it's something you can definitely grow. I don't think it's just something you have or you don't have. I don't agree with that. I think you can get better at everything. And I think some of it is, one, as I got older, what I'm saying, you get a little wiser, and
Yeah.
you understand that certain, how to, it's relationships, and it's how do you build those relationships, and how do I listen, and how do I get guys to do things that I know if they had to write down what they want to do, that may not be it, but they're going to do this because the team needs them to do it. And at home they're hearing something different. So
Yeah.
how do you get those guys to just totally buy into that? Because if you do, you're going to be way above what your expectations were. So, I mean, I think even just, there's some good books about mental toughness or things like that. I think that helps you look at situations different. It helps you think about stuff. I think, I look back at my childhood, I was blessed with parents that kind of let me fall on my face a little bit and figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of what I think has made me a little more mentally tough, is I know I have fought through some adversity, I'm saying, that I can handle the stuff because I was kind of made to go do it. Don't.
That's the idea when they always have the different names for the different parents, and sometimes it's the helicopter parent that's always watching, but the worst is the bulldozer parent
Right.
that paves everything in the way to everything smooth, because hurdles are coming someday, some way, some shape or form, and
Exactly. Right. And then, I mean, in our game, it's just basketball, but still it's skills that we can learn in a nice, confined, comfortable with a bunch of other guys and coaches and people that care about you, that you can make mistakes and fix it and learn that for later, right? When in life it becomes a lot bigger of a deal.
yeah, but it's also something that they care about deeply. which
That's true.
that's what makes it difficult, but that's what makes it so useful, is because, we have the adversity we'll face later in life is things like, oh, around my family, around my job, around my profession, around these things, and those are things I care about deeply. There's
Right.
there's
No,
there's things that are hard that we're just like, oh, I just won't do that because I don't care about that. But
that's,
that's what makes athletics just so phenomenal.
I
Is
agree.
because it's hard and because you love it.
Yeah, I agree. That is right on. That is
Yeah.
right on.
So here's what I want to get into next. So this is you just finished up your first year at Deer Creek Mackinac, moving over here, and we
Mm-hmm.
can talk about a little bit. This is obviously a program that's near and dear to my heart. And it's, you just, in the first year, did you guys set you tied
Right.
tied the record for school wins, and that's the Deer Creek Mackinac basketball program is one it's had its ups and downs over the last, I'd say, 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
with some really, really good and some really, really bad. And you came in, well, let's just say you won more games this year than they had in the 3 previous total, right?
Right.
So this wasn't you didn't show up and everything was hunky dory, right? So
Right.
I'm trying to, that's the conversation I want to have, is because I think this is really useful, because young coaches, new coaches, it's rare that you go into a great situation. It's jobs are open for a reason.
I
Um,
agree.
so that's what I want to dive into, is like, what's your method? What was your method coming in? And like, how do I assess this? How do I use that intuitiveness that I have? And then how do I apply that to make this something different than it was?
Right. Now, the lucky thing now is how much film you can watch without getting any film. I mean,
Yeah.
I could go to NFHS and I watched the whole season
Hmm.
pretty much. You know what
What
I'm
are you
saying?
looking for first?
Well, I'm watching body language.
That's okay. I was hoping that you didn't give me like, oh, we have this, we have
Oh,
that, we
no.
have this.
Yeah.
You,
I'm
you're
not even
going,
watching skill stuff as much as I am body language. I'm watching the bench. I'm watching how guys come on and off the court, right? Because that tells a lot right there. How well do they get along? What's the communication with each other? That kind of stuff. And a lot of that can be fixed.
so as you watched it, because I watched some of that season, do you see it and say, well, that's like, this is going to be awful? Or do you say, well, this is good because there's a lot of room for growth? Like, which way are you
Oh
looking at
no,
that?
there's a lot of room for growth, because the other part I saw is we were skilled and we were tall and we had a lot of length. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of good basketball stuff we had that I felt like I could do a lot with. I just had to get them to believe in it, buy in what I was going to preach to them, right? We talk about team first, me second all the time. In fact, that's what the guys say before they leave practice. And then they all shake their hands before they leave practice. You have to, they get together, team first, me second, and then they have to shake everybody's hands. Um, Before practice starts, I have them stand around in a circle, and I'm pretty much just seeing who's got eye contact with me.
Hmm.
Because I know before practice starts now who's had a good day, who hasn't, who I may need to do a little one-on-one sometime in practice during a drill, right? Or talk through. And I could even, just by watching some of our games last year, tell which of those guys were going to need me to be a little more one-on-one with them, and which guys could I maybe push a little bit. But a lot of the summer was them just, this is how hard we got to play. If this is what you want to do, if this is, I asked them what their goals were. What do you guys want? Okay, well, if you want that, this is what we got to do, right?
Well,
And
talking about there's a lot of times there's a disconnect between what players want and what they're willing to put in. Like, but they don't always know that. They don't understand
no,
that.
no, that's exactly right. So a lot of it was just showing them what the expectations were, right? Giving them the structure that kids want that, right? They want that, and they were hungry. So I could tell right away they were hungry. They were tired of not being good. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I can work with that. And there's always going to be some growing pains with that. I was impressed with how quick they bought in to my biggest thing was we were going to play defense. And if you weren't going to play defense, we weren't going to be on the floor. I didn't care how many points you scored. And you used the summer to prove that, right? I used the summer to prove what those expectations are and those limitations. And the guys really bought into that. And I got lucky, to be honest, that some of our early games, we didn't shoot it as well, but our defense was what won the game.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it was leading into I have a what we call the D6, and there's 6 defensive things that if we can do those, we win. If you do 4 of the 6, you almost win 85 to 90% of the time.
Okay.
So we were preaching that from day one, right? The guys almost more focused on that than anything else. Because I knew just watching, we had guys that could shoot and score it.
Yeah.
You know, so we're going to catch up to that. But it was going to be how hard we were going to play and how much defense we're going to play. And I was very pleased with how quick those guys believed in it, bought into it. They started to talk about the D6. They could, you know, they are always talking about, well, you know, hey, coaches, even if we hold them under 55, we win. And I'm like, okay,
That's
let's keep working on that, right? And so I think that was a lot of it, was just getting them to, having the summer to be able to kind of work some of that in. And then when you get them at practice the beginning of November, that second week in November, and you just get them in there and you can kind of have the expectations and show them what those are and what it means. It helps a lot. It makes it go a long way.
well, and then I'm assuming that you have the expectations, you have a plan, and then they're still high school kids. There's probably moments where they don't live up to them, and you have to go, nope, we're actually doing this.
Right. No, and you do. And you have to, and that's the one thing as a coach you got to stay on, right? You got to hold that, you got to tell them what that line is. Now, you also got to understand if they're getting tired and what could be reasons why they may not have executed well. Sometimes you need to look at that from a emotional way, or, I'm saying a mental aspect of it. But, a lot of it, especially with body language, that was going to get taken care of, right? We were going to stop it. It was, we weren't going to let that happen. We wanted good
Like
body
as in like stop everything because this body language is going on and this is not acceptable.
Yeah. Or a lot of it may even just be one-on-one, right? Just you saw it, you bring the guy over and go, hey, did that, did hitting the wall do you good? I mean, did it help you? But doing it in a calm way. I was never going to get all fired up about certain things like that, especially because they had emotional reaction, right? If I come
Yeah.
back with a fired emotional reaction, I'm not teaching them anything.
Yeah.
So
It's
a
and
lot of it
that's
is talking one-on-one, right? And calming them down a little bit and getting them to see that doesn't help them. And then when they do it well and they handle a situation well, it's like throwing a party, right? I mean, I'm like, that is how you do it. That is how we handle it. And it may be anybody. It could be a guy that's not even a guy that's going to play a lot. He's a practice guy, and we'll praise that guy in practice for how he did something.
well.
That's you really show when the positive stuff happens.
So praise. I'm such a big believer in praise and how we use praise or should use praise in the right way. Because if the only thing you praise is a made bucket,
Oh, yeah.
they believe that that's the only thing that matters. Or if we only praise when we win, they think that's the only thing that matters, and that's a problem. So when you praise the proper way to handle a situation with the right body language, they go, oh, that's important.
Yes. And then right, the idea is to get that just to become second nature for them. Like they're just going to start doing that instead of getting frustrated, or getting worked up because they didn't make a shot. Yeah, I don't care. Go do another one, right? I mean, we even got to the point with some guys, we were just having them focus on elbow up. I said, every time you catch it, I just want you to think elbow up every time you shoot. So that way they weren't thinking about if they made one before or what they were going to do
Yeah.
with that one. Just no, because you're going to make shots.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. Just focus on those little things and don't worry about the outcome, right?
Yeah.
You
So you
can't
talk
get
about
caught up on the outcome.
I mean, you can.
Oh yeah,
It just
and it's not good.
it's not good because it happens a lot.
No, and it's one of the things we talk about a lot is the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trust the process. We can't worry about what you want to happen or what you hope happens, because if you do that, it's not going to happen. You just got to trust the process. We've put the time in. We're prepared for this team, right? You know the game plan. We just need to go execute it. And then even sometimes during the game, it's bringing them over and go, yeah, hey, we're right there. Keep playing hard, keep playing defense. Everything will flow. We're doing what we're supposed to. It's just not going in right now. It will. Trust it, and just calming them down and go. And the fun thing is when the guys start doing that themselves,
Oh
right? When
yeah.
they start doing it themselves, like, we're good. We're good. Let's go. We're all right. They can see a guy starting to get frustrated and they're right away running to him and going, we're all right. Let's go. High five, right? The other thing I notice is how much the guys, are they giving high fives? Are you patting a guy on the back? That whole thing about a team and touch, that's a big deal. It
It is.
shows a lot. It shows that you care. And they don't realize that, but it does.
Welcome to Mental Metal Coaching, where our mission is to help you learn to thrive in the face of adversity, not just survive it. We are passionate about empowering you to live, play, and work with a resilient and spirited mindset. Hi, I'm Matt Toman. I'm an ICF professional coach and keynote speaker. My background as an athlete, basketball coach, teacher, and school administrator has equipped me with the insights that resonate deeply with the schools, teams, athletes, and coaches I work with. However, it's my personal journey through anxiety, cancer, and an ischemic stroke in 2020 that truly brings authenticity to my presentations. While learning to speak and write again, I also pursued and earned my ICF coaching certification. Now the practices I embrace are more than theoretical concepts. They're a way of life. Developing a positive mindset is within reach for all, but it requires self-awareness and the repetition of intentional activities. At Mental Metal Coaching, we'll guide you, your staff, and your students on this transformative journey. Together, let's forge your metal.
It's also one of those things that when you say, hey, we're going to start doing this, I've noticed that when you start doing this or ask somebody to do something like this that is out of their comfort zone, it's going to feel awkward for them at first and going to feel fake. That doesn't last all that long. You have to
No.
it's like you got to get past, you do have to get past that this feels awkward phase
Mm-hmm.
where you might say, hey, you're going to have this drill and all I care about is if you give 5 high fives at the end. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, and it's forced and it's fabricated and it's awkward, but after a while that phases because they start to see the benefit in it.
Exactly. Right. They see how quick it is. And then if I'm over there running to my teammate to help him out to be, hey, let's go. We're back on it. We're all right. Let's go. You're good. We got this. I'm not frustrated either about the fact that he just made a turnover or just made this, right? It's so easy to look out and watch a team and there's 5 guys frustrated, but only one guy made a mistake.
Yeah.
And what good does that do anybody?
Well,
What,
yeah,
no one makes any mistakes? I mean, the fun thing I tell them about basketball is the game's so fast, no one's going to remember if we just keep
you're
playing.
right.
No one even remembers 5 seconds later. Just get up and go. It doesn't matter.
It really does. It's like you get a game like baseball and it's like, oh, I strike out and it's 2-3 innings before I even get a chance to go again. I'm out there playing left field. Nobody's hitting the ball here. I've sat here for an hour thinking about a curveball that I missed.
Yeah.
I mean,
and being a fielder, sometimes you could go 3 games and have one ball hit to you, and you got to field it perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, that's hard. You want to talk about mental toughness, right?
It's hard. And so basketball lends itself to it, but you have to think about it that way, or it can spiral because that makes that ball's also coming back at you, right? Exactly. And so if you don't have that next play mindset, then it has more opportunities to spiral out of control too.
Right.
Which is why it's so important.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important, I think, that even during practice, when you see it happening, that you're making a point of, hey, look where we're at. We're getting frustrated, but that it just turned into 2 or 3 more mistakes, right? We just went. So we'll do a lot of things. We may go 4 possession scrimmage or something, right? And go up and down. And then they have to come over and talk to each other. I don't talk to them. But then there's times where I may come over and go, okay, why did that happen? And they're like, we're not executing well. We got frustrated. Yeah. Okay. Now go fix it. So then I give them the opportunity to fix it.
So you mentioned to me that you believe that you're a player's coach.
Yeah.
And explain to me what you mean by that, because I'm picking up some things that I'm interested in.
Okay. So the way I look at that as being like a player's coach is I think having firm boundaries and structure is part of that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not one that you have to do it my way or the highway. I don't like that, right? We're in this together. It's really their team. I'm just trying to help them with what I understand and all the experience I had and all the stuff I've learned to try to help them be the best group together that we can, right? Mold everybody together. I think that's, and it's building relationships. It's doing the one-on-one stuff, being a listener. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable in front of them. And I think it's important sometimes to show them that's okay. I mean, I think that's also how you build tight relationships with people, is not be afraid to be vulnerable. Big time is defining roles, right? Having those communications, like I said, with the whole team discussing it, me having those communications. Like right now, the season's over, so we always do postseason evaluations. I give the kids a packet. It's about 3 pages long, and they've got to fill all these things out. And it's a one, it's a one almost always, a two, no, a one almost never, a two sometimes, a three most of the time, and a four almost always. So I don't let them pick the middle.
Right.
And if they do it right, it's hard.
It's real hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. Well, then the coaches do it for each kid too. So I have certain sections, right? I have like our DMAC basketball purpose, our attitudes, and our habit. So they get an average of what they gave themselves. But then we have a coach's average too.
Okay.
So then when I sit down with them, we can say, and it may go either way, right? I just had a player I sat with that their numbers were lower than ours because they're not as confident in what they can do.
Sure.
And then that gave me the opportunity for about the next 15 minutes to raise these guys up going, no, the coaches know you can do this.
Right.
So how about you give yourself a break, right? You are enough. You work hard all the time. You're coachable. You're only going to keep getting better. So why don't we just keep doing what you do, and we'll help you get better on the things maybe you're not as good at, and we'll get really good. And it's like, no. And then they kind of, all right. And then there's those other guys we have to have the tough conversation where they probably didn't necessarily take it as serious as they should have. And their scores are a lot higher. And I got to be like, okay, no, but this is where we see you. And this is why, right? But having that honesty, right? Having that honesty in relationship with them, I think that and then I can give them the freedom, right? To just go play. Mm-hmm. I told Coach Finney, my assistant this year, because this is his first year getting used to me too.
Sure.
I told him, I said, when we're playing well, I'm not looking at my note card. I have a note card or a couple in my pocket of sets or things we could run, or has all the sets that I know we can do. And if I'm not looking at it, we're just playing basketball. And that's the most fun. That's the most fun. I don't want to be controlling everything. I want them to learn how to play and just play. It doesn't mean I don't have to at times, obviously, but.
Oh, sure. Well, you're not always playing well.
No, exactly.
Yeah, no.
But that's what, that's the goal, right? Is to let them make mistakes and figure it out a little bit. Go through a drill, and maybe I got it for 10 minutes. I'm not going to go past that. If it was horrible, we're moving on. It doesn't do us any good for me to sit looking at that thing. Let's go on to the next thing. Now I may adjust in 30 minutes. We may do another drill like that so I can see where we're at and reteach some stuff. But let them make some mistakes. Let them figure it out. Let them play hard. Stop it and teach it. And then there's always days where you have to adjust it maybe, right? We're worn out and we need more of just a slower reteach, recoach stuff. So
lots of taking your own ego out of it, lots of it. And also I'm seeing the opportunity for information transfer.
Yeah. Yes. Communication and the why. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this drill? Why are we running this? This is why we're doing it. This is why we do it this way. This is why I need you to talk and do this, because this is going to happen in a game situation. I'm going to show you the game situation right now. Now you see why we want to do that. Or I can show you on film then. This is why we do that, right? So it's just that communication and that feedback from them. And I tell them all the time, and I've even had, there was times where I had even one of my captains one year when I was at Watsika. I told him, I could feel myself, you always get in that time of the season where coaches are the same way, right? We get a little amped up. I don't feel like the guys are working hard enough. And I told him, I said, I feel like I may be getting too hard on you. I go, so I gave him, I can't remember what the word was, but I gave him just a word that was just between me and him. And if I was in practice and felt like I was getting amped up, he would come by and say that word to me, and it would just calm me down and be like, okay, you're right. They got it. Because he's like, Coach, we got it. We're just not doing real well right now. We'll figure it out. Yeah. And I even had that with a player once. I had a player that was getting frustrated and there was things that he wasn't doing very well or wasn't working really hard at stuff. And I had a word with him. So even in practice, I could just say that word. And it was a regular, like you wouldn't have noticed it.
Right. But
And
it
it's
gives
in
him that
practice.
it
Everybody.
gives him that opportunity. Yeah.
And then he knows, okay, instead of me getting on him in front of everybody or taking him off the side, he already knew I didn't like what he was doing, my expectations, or he should give more. And then he would just do it. But I gave him, we both had that word. I said, it goes both ways.
Right.
If you feel like I'm too much on you, I need to know that too.
Yeah.
And just that communication, I think, is really important. And every kid's different, right? You got to
Well,
find. And
that's the
sometimes it takes us a while to figure some of that out. And then you just also, again, being vulnerable, you admit when you made a mistake with it.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, hey, that's the way it works.
Again, but I think that when you talk about that vulnerability and talking to the kids, and that's how you build that trust. That's where to me, that's where you allow yourself to have that intuitiveness, is because you
Yeah.
know the players well enough, because they trust you, and you have conversations with them. So it makes sense that you, like, the intuitiveness isn't some, I don't know, you don't have a crystal ball. It's
Oh
not a
no. Right.
superpower. It's
Right.
it's vulnerability and communication and listening to them. And then once you get that, yeah, you can do something with it. But
Right.
if you're not creating a situation for yourself where you're not listening to them and not allowing them to have a voice and allowing them to make these mistakes, you're not going to have any intuitiveness, because there's no space for it. It's
Exactly.
so I love that. So what I got to ask is, I got to be honest. We had last fall, I did the Ember to Inferno program at Deer Creek Mac, and I knew you a little bit, but not a lot. And you're coming in, and I know you've won. You're a Hall of Fame coach. You've got all kinds of these. You're a great coach, right? And you've got a state championship under your belt. And I'm getting ready to start, and I'm like, man, I sure hope he likes this stuff, because the last thing I want is to go through some of this stuff where I start talking about, like, emotional regulation and humility and vulnerable and being vulnerable, and as a coach and doing these things. And if he is like, just go, like, if there's just friction around it, I'm like, I'm going to lose everybody else. And then that's my way of saying I'm so glad that was not the case, and it was the exact opposite, that you were like all in on this stuff. And now that I see that you were a master at this stuff before I was even working on this stuff, so that's my thank you for that, because it was fantastic.
Well, I loved it, man. I loved every bit of it. And the thing was, I still learn stuff.
Oh,
I mean, you never stop learning. And the stuff, like when you would have us try to pick a picture, right, of what, is a tough situation or what's good, I right away put a couple pictures on my phone. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It would remind me of who I want to be and how I want to be, and those type of things. So the things you gave me were awesome. And it's one of those things you always need reminded, right?
yeah,
It's like I said, some of those books I read again right before season starts.
yeah,
And I probably read them every time or pick a different one. Or, a podcast I'm listening to. I may pick some of your earlier podcasts that I already have marked that I know are good. I want to re-listen to it, because you need that, just be reassured of what you're doing, and think about it again. And it was kind of refreshing for me, for you to do it. And then for me to just be able to just sit back. I got my journal. I even got my journal right here. The journal
yeah.
you gave us, I still have and write and go back to. I went back through the season when I knew we were going to be struggling. I'm like, okay, what do I need to go through there? What I need to see? And there's always something that'll click or send you somewhere, right, to think about something else, or how to help your team the best.
Well, I think that, like, going through a course like my Ember to Inferno, or reading books and have this, it gives you this bank of knowledge that you do have to refresh once in a while, but it gives you bullets to put in your gun, to be like, okay, what do I want to do now? Oh, we could try that. Why don't we try that with like, maybe this is an issue. Maybe how can I do this to help the kids, or help myself, or help my assistants? And it just, I don't know. It's powerful to have all these little mental tools that you can do to help kids, because there's so much of it that is mental and emotional.
Oh, there's so much. It is so much that. So much. I think that's one of the most important things, because if you can get that, and you got a group of kids that, even if they're not as talented as basketball players, but they care for each other and they'll fight for each other, and they got the emotional, they're regulated, they handle adversity well, and they have the next play mentality. You're going to be hard to play.
Yeah.
I don't care what. Even against a team that's more athletic, you're going to be tough to play.
Yeah. I think that and that's it but being able to get your players to have that emotional steadiness in the heat of the moment is, again, that's that fantastic skill that we want them to have the rest of their life.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think part of that too is, I mean, and I guarantee some people say, well, I watched you coach, and there's sometimes you probably let the ref
Sure.
have a little bit. And there's no doubt that I did. Maybe I lost my emotions there a little bit, or some of it is I'm trying to stick up for my guys a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Show some things. But overall, I'm not going to say much. When it's getting crazy out there, a lot of times I'm just telling the guys, stay level. We talk about that all the time. Stay level. When things are going great, stay level. You can't get too high, you can't get too low, right? And this even goes to other things. I can't remember what coach I heard this from, and it may have been Coach Posey, that said, "You're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are."
Yeah. So
That has always stuck with me.
I don't know who you learned that from, but I learned that from Coach Holmgren, who's your principal now.
Yeah,
He I don't know who he heard it from, but that has always stuck with me, that things aren't as good as you think and they're not as bad as you think. And that is, there's so much wisdom and truth in that statement right there,
I
because
agree.
it speaks to our emotion.
Yes. Yes. So when you're having a rough go, okay, we can get through this. And when it's going well, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, we're really good. We're playing really well right now, but we got to stay with it,
Yeah.
right? We got to stay with it. We can't get too okay with it or too happy about it. We got to just stay level, keep doing what we're doing, and see where we go.
Which is kind of boring, but that's
Yeah, but
it's yeah. I mean, it's but that's when you get the players and the teams that are level like that, it's, I don't know, it's they do really well.
right.
Um
And it doesn't mean, after a big win that you come in the locker room and I show a lot of emotion after a win. Like, we'll get all
right.
fired up about it. And then we're like, okay, guys, that was great. This is some things we did well. Let's be ready, enjoy it right now. But when you walk out of this locker room, we see you tomorrow morning. Let's get ready to do the next thing. Let's get after it, but enjoy
Yeah.
it right now. So just be able to enjoy it. But then also you got to know you got to move on to the next thing too.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure watching you work with those guys this year. Just because it's a program I watch a lot, and it was just a perfect example of, there was talent there, there was some ability there, but just there, it was the mental side and the emotional side that was really missing. I mean, you did some X's and O's right, of course, but that was so secondary to everything else. And so that's, I as I told you earlier in the year, I was like, I want to have you on the show and talk about it, but we're going to wait for the end of the year to get past. And unfortunately, that ended with losing to your rival in
Yeah.
Tremont. We won't worry about that too much, but
Thank
because that,
you. Yeah.
that happens. So, last question, Coach. What did we not talk about that we should have? What's the conversation we didn't have that we should have? What's the question I didn't ask you that I should have?
It's funny because I listen to your podcast and you always ask everybody
I
this.
do.
So every time I think, if I was ever on, what would I say? And now I'm in that situation and I can't think of anything.
So you sent me some stuff here. I'll throw a sideways question then.
Okay. All
You
right.
you gave me some background on you, and you tell me that you like poetry, Coach.
I do.
So give me a poem or a poet that you appreciate.
Oh, wow.
See, now I'm putting you on the spot. You tell me you like poetry. Now you gotta throw somebody at me.
Yeah. And I probably will say the name wrong,
Okay.
but I've got a couple. Um, I want to say it's Kingsley or Kingsbury
Okay.
is the name of the one poet that I really enjoy. Yeah, I've even dived in and tried to write some poetry at times.
Yeah.
So yeah,
See, that's great, right? That's when you talk about I love the idea of writing and creative writing and journaling and things because I think it helps us get our thoughts out. And
yeah,
just like you were talking about.
yeah. And it's one of those things. It's very calming, right?
Yeah.
Um, just be able to read a poem, and then you got to go back and read it like 4 or 5 times just to figure out what it even meant. Um, I found a book that was really interesting where another guy took poems that were his favorite and then would have you read it. But then in the book, the next section was him kind of talking through it, like what
Okay.
he thought was. Of course, everybody has a different
That's
view.
the thing, right?
And he would even say that. But it was really cool to be able to get that insight and be like, well, this person wrote this at this time in their life.
Right.
So why would, that's where that was coming from. And it's just, I don't know, it was really kind of cool. And it really got me into it more to just start reading more poetry and things like that. I need to get back on that. I've been a
Yeah.
little busy, but
Well, I was just nice. It was nice to have a coach fill that stuff out for me and not and have a hobby that was completely out of left field from coaching, which
yeah,
is
I'm sure there's a lot of people that would not believe that, but
no, I think it's great. So, Coach, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great. We'll stay in touch and thank you so much.
well, thank you so much, Matt. It was a definitely, I mean, just, I'm kind of at all that you had me on anyway, because I always have listened to your podcast. So I appreciate it.
Well, that's trust me, the honor's all mine here just to be able to pick your brain and hopefully others can pull from it too because that's what I'm trying to do. The entire mission of the podcast is to have coaches and athletes that do things in the right way, especially mentally, and are thinking about emotions and doing these things and acknowledging those things and not just saying ignoring those things or or some of that old school,
Right.
my way or the
You know,
highway type coaching.
yeah. And you know what? And the crazy thing is, even still doing that, there's times where it doesn't work out. You know what I'm
Of
saying?
course.
Where it just doesn't work out the way, the kids weren't able to get all into it. They weren't able to buy into it. You could only take them so far. And as a coach, you can only take it so far. They have to kind of believe in it and buy into it more. And if they do, they're probably going to excel past expectations. But there's always going to be those years as a coach. And I think this is good for younger coaches to understand. It's not you though. You're still enough. Like you're doing the right things, or try to learn more, or ask, and you can always try and get better. But sometimes you did everything you're supposed to, and you got to kind of understand and give yourself a break on that and be enough.
Yeah, but the way you said sometimes it doesn't work out, that depends on the lens we're looking at. If we're talking about it doesn't always work out because we didn't have a winning season or we didn't get the regional
Right.
win that like we wanted, then that's the wrong lens because
I agree.
that's a secondary thing. That's an outcome. So more often than not, it will work out if you have the right lens and you're like, I'm trying to help these players become the best versions of themselves and become better prepared for life, that can always work out.
Yes. No, and that's totally true. And that's I even have a quote in my house or in my office that says it's always more than basketball.
Always.
It always is.
But you
It's
have to mean that. You have to
yeah.
mean that as a coach. You can't just
No, and you do.
put it, you can't just say it. You have to mean it.
No, and you have to show it, right? And you have to show it
Yeah,
every day that that's what it is. And yeah, I mean, we're all competitors. I mean, I want to
sure.
win. I mean,
We
but
wouldn't, we wouldn't care if there wasn't a scoreboard, but
right,
we have to also ignore that scoreboard. So it's a crazy thing.
right. I mean, I tell the kids all the time, if I can somehow make you a better son, a better brother, right? Later on, a better husband, a better father, that's 10 times more important, right?
Absolutely.
Than anything. And I was lucky enough that I had a player at Watsika once that then came back after a game. I hadn't seen him for a long time, and he came back for a home game one time. And he was kind of standing around after the game was over, kind of next to me. So I knew he kind of wanted to talk to me, right?
Yeah.
So I called him over and said, "Hey, come here. It was great to see you." And the one thing he said, he goes, "Coach, I'll never forget when you talked to us in our locker room and talked about how you just, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it, to be better husbands and better." He goes, "I want you to know I'm trying to do that."
That's
And I mean, that right there is what it's all about, man.
yeah.
It had nothing to do about wins and losses. I couldn't even tell you really how many career wins I have. I don't know. I had to look it up to fill your sheet out, but I don't. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just not
No.
important, right? It's just not important. But you also got to believe that.
Well, you're closing in on 500, Coach. Just so you know. I mean, so you've had a few.
Yeah, I've been doing it a long time
I
too.
know. Well, that's the other part, I guess. But sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Coach, thank you so much for coming on. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
You bet, Coach.
Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport. And they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Metal Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set.
A few points I want to really reiterate here in that conversation with Coach Cluver, just to make sure that, the coach is listening, that here's what I think is most important. And you're going to take your own takeaways from it. The first is his idea that culture comes before X's and O's. That is not something that's new on this podcast. So many of the coaches I talk to talk about that, preach that, do it, and how he has to building the environment where roles are completely and clearly defined. Teammates actively build each other up. Praise is directed at effort, body language, communication, all those things, more than the X's and O's that we employ and want our team to run. I think that on the surface, a lot of coaches say that out loud. I don't think it always, if I went to your practice and listened to your actions, your words, and your behaviors, if the culture actually came before X's and O's and just where your focus was, because I think that it's so important, especially when you're trying to flip a struggling program. If you're trying to if you're a new coach getting into a program, or the program's kind of gone down a little bit, you have to be relentless on building that culture and the standards. The plays at some point with that, plays don't matter at all. If you did nothing but culture and the way they behaved around each other and the way they, all of those things, and just said, go play, and didn't have any X's and O's, it might be better off than you did the opposite, where you just did X's and O's and no culture. Seriously. Now, a lot of that comes to the players that you have, and I know that, and that's a huge part of it. But I think we have to make sure that our thoughts that culture comes before X's and O's has to be something that we're actually doing. Another idea that I love is just his focus on the emotional and mental skills, and how important those are, and how he treats that emotional regulation, that vulnerability, and that next play mentality as skills to be taught. And they are not just personality traits that a kid either has or doesn't. And that is what I do and why I do it, because I believe that. I talk about that third skill set all the time, that we really develop game skills, whatever sport that is. With basketball, we really make sure that they dribble, pass, shoot. We work on the physical skills. We make sure they're in the weight room, getting bigger, faster, stronger. We don't always spend time and effort on building the mental skills and that emotional regulation and the vulnerability and that next play mentality. We just want them to have it. And a lot of times we think a kid either has it or doesn't. And we will run, we say we, but our culture is, the American sports culture is, you must run a kid out because they don't have that. Well, they can't play for me, or they're just not very tough. So it's not the kind of kid I want on my team. But you can train those responses. You can train those responses to adversity by noticing the frustration, the body language, the words, and how they respond to mistakes, and building that culture to do that. I love so many of the tools that he talked about, like literally having code words with players and saying, "Hey, this is too much. We need to do this," and he let them do it both ways. That's a lot. You're allowing a lot of responsibility and accountability, and just all those on a program, and not just saying it's my way and it has to be this way. No, you're allowing for every kid to be a little bit different, and so, well, this kid isn't as good at mental resilience. Okay, so let's work with it. We know that we can. Man, if I'm not doing it right, I can break this kid. So, just understanding that this mental metal is built intentionally through structure, communication, repetition, just like we can shooting and defense. And we need to understand that. And that needs to be, again, something you really need to work on. And I really love his idea about how adversity reveals what we do beforehand, and just how we know adversity is coming, and we know that it's going to be hard. We know that there's going to be a lot of that noise, a lot of things that are going to be difficult. Well, we know that. And we can go ahead and plan for that response. When that adversity comes, how am I going to respond? And of course, then it goes back to all those things we just talked about, your culture, how you're developing these mental skills, but just understanding that adversity, we know it's coming, and we might as well have a plan, and we're working on that. So, how your team handles adversity is decided way before the crisis. It's part of your daily habits, your standards, your relationships. It's kind of like your insurance policy. Oh, this is going to happen. A rainy day is coming. Here's how I'm going to deal with that. Just so much good stuff there. And then, of course, the last idea I will reiterate. That is exactly what my Ember to Inferno program is about. It is professional development I do for coaches to get in there and work with coaches and help them work on some of this culture, some of that third skill set, and how we handle responsibility, or how we handle adversity, and having a plan for that. Just like a coach might go to a seminar to learn some of these X's and O's. I need to get better at the ball press. I need to be able to work on my zone defense, or my own press, and these different things. And we send coaches to these all the time, which goes back to my first point. We say that culture is more important than X's and O's, but coaches spend their professional development on X's and O's. So where I think that's where a lot of the time and effort and money for professional development should be spent on a coach, is on those things, and the mental skills and the emotional skills. And that's what the Ember to Inferno program does. So if you listen to this, please, I hope you got some notes and good stuff from Coach Cluver. But also, if you're like, hey, I love all this stuff, but I don't know how to do it, and I don't know how to start, that's what I do. I would love to help. So being a great episode. I love talking to successful coaches that, really reiterate a lot of the things I'm doing, and kind of show me that I'm working on the right track, and developing this stuff. And Cluver didn't need me to be successful to do this, but others might. And know that just like your kids, you can get better at this part of your coaching, toolkit. You may not have it right now as a coach, but you can develop it. So that's what I'm here for. So thanks for listening. Thank you for sharing. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that share button, make comments when you see me. I'm all over social media. If you find me, like, share, all these things really helps out the algorithm. And this is a cool story, just to say this. I know that there's a there's a youth hockey team in Saskatchewan that is using some of my stuff because of a podcast I did. I don't know these people. They reached out to me and say, I heard your podcast. We heard talk about this, and we use your stuff with this youth hockey team in Saskatchewan. It's crazy. And I love it. That's the ripple effect that I'm looking for. I can't have that without people sharing, liking, and subscribing. So please, do that for me. I really appreciate it. So this has been the Mental Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Toman, and always remember to forge your metal. Thanks for listening to the Mental Metal Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Metal Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Metal Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your metal.